Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to 2017. Today is January 1st, and we want to wish each and every one of you a Happy New Year, and I hope that this year is a really good one for you. My name is Chamberlain Burke.
And I'm Devlin Burke.
And today we're going to start the first podcast of 2017 talking about Lita Ford. We want to give some well-deserved attention to the women of rock music, and we chose Lita. We're going to talk specifically about her two albums, Lita and Stiletto. I want to start this by quoting from Eddie Trunk's Essential Hard Rock and Heavy Metal Volume 2. On page 74, he talks about Lita and her influence on rock music. He's talking about this album, Lita, and he says, I was happy to see the success Lita was having at the time that the album came out. It was refreshing to see a female artist break through in the male-dominated world of heavy metal, but the music was a bit too glossy for my tastes. She looked hard rock, but the songs on this album, unlike her earlier ones, were more in line with pop. To me, it seemed to hark back to the Runaway days, a bit too manufactured. I may not have been the only one who felt that Lita was getting a bit too polished for the hard rock crowd, as Lita became her only true hit album. The follow-up Stiletto was even more commercial sounding and failed to have a major hit. Devlin, do you feel that that's, do you agree with that? I mean, I think he's correct in his opinion, but do you feel that that's true in your opinion?
I'm not sure because I don't have the first two Lita Ford albums. I just have the one album, Lita, and, I have the other ones as well, but I just don't have the first two. So there's really nothing for me to compare it to. And I really do want to get those two albums.
Do you feel that these two are too commercial or pop oriented? Do you feel they have a pop drive?
Possibly, because I remember on an episode of Metal Evolution, a music critic said, if you look at all these songs that came out in the 80s by hard rock bands, he said they're pop songs. Somebody just threw a guitar solo on them.
Interesting.
And for me, what I've always loved about her is her take no prisoners attitude. This is a woman who sings about sex. She enjoys sex. And there is no shame in that. And I think that's very important because I love what he said about a male-dominated field because there are a lot of men and I can count on maybe one hand and a half the number of women. And I think we need more women. And I wanted to ask you, as a mom, how did you feel hearing a woman sing about sex in such a forward, unbridled attitude? What did you think of that?
Well, as I listened to these two albums a little while ago earlier today, I made a couple of comments to you. One was I heard the female empowerment. What I like is that she's very free. This is not, and in one of the songs she talks about, I'm not Sandra Dee. But this is not a 50s singer like, any of those. I'm not going to name them or embarrass them. She is a very independent woman. She is very free. She is very empowering. And, in all honesty, I was not offended by it. And I think if my children or my daughter especially, if my children were younger, I would probably have to have a conversation with them about this. But since I'm an older person and my daughter is older, this was very freeing. And one of the other comments that I made to you was that she doesn't sing like a crooner or like a pop singer. She sings like a hard rock singer. And one of the points that I made to you was she sounded like one of the guys. Now, I'm not trying to say anything bad about the guys, or I'm certainly not trying to put her down. What I'm saying is she fits in. She fits in as a very, very talented, raw, energized, sexual, sexy singer. But it sounded like I was just listening to a rock band, a rock singer. Not male, not female, not androgynous, but I was just listening to the song. Her voice and her talent are such that I didn't have to choose male, female, band, solo artist. It was, I like that song and I like that sound. Um, it surprised me that I was really, um, as impressed with the sexuality, the raw sexuality of some of these songs. But knowing what I know about her, I can really tell that that's okay. That's who she is. And it was part of the female empowerment that I heard in both of the albums.
Mm. And so let's get into these albums here. Let's talk about this. The first album we had you listen to was Lita. My personal favorite song on here is "Can't Catch Me." I loved the drive of that one. It was co-written by Lenny Kilmister, so you can't go wrong there. And it's just an attack. Like, you can imagine that song live is that's the mosh pits opening up right there.
Right, I agree. I made notes that I like the intro of Back to the Cave. I liked the beat and the message of empowerment in Catch Me If You Can. It starts out with, don't try to push the strong arm on me. You'd better think twice. I ain't no Sandra D. That was where that reference came from. It was, I've done things, and if you want to stay with me, you better catch up, because you can't catch me. I'm farther ahead than you. And one of the other lines that I need more than just a pretty face. I deserve an ace with a little taste. I like that. It's a woman claiming herself and saying, not begging to be please love me, please love me. It's like, you know what? If you're going to be with me, you better meet my standards. And I really liked that. Blueberry was a little weird for me. I did like the beat, but some of the references were just a little bit too weird. What did you think?
Yeah. Blueberry is one of the no disrespect, Lita Ford, if you're listening to this, but Blueberry, I'm still on the question about. The only thing I find after the song is I have a craving for blueberries.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, Kiss Me Deadly. The opening line alone is just pure poetry.
Absolutely.
It's I went to a party last Saturday night. I didn't get laid. I got in a fight. And if you look at female singers, most of their stuff is about how badly they want to have sex. And she's like, I didn't get laid tonight. Oh, well.
But she was strong enough that I got in a fight,
Yeah.
And it had a good beat. It had great vocals. I loved the sound on that. Falling In and Out of Love was a slower beat. It had a good sound in the vocals, and it had some really good imagery. One of the things I liked about her songs is they're very imaginative. It's real easy to envision what she's trying to say in her songs.
Yeah, I agree. That song is really good. Co-written by Nikki Sixx. That's a great song. Fatal Passion. This was the song where you said she sounds like one of the.
Exactly. That was the one that caught where it sounded like a band. Not male, not female, but it sounded like a band. It had a great bridge. She is very talented when she plays. I love the beat, and I like this. I like the messages. Under the Gun was a little slower. It was a little bit interesting. And then we went on to
Broken Dreams.
Broken Dreams had a weird message, but had a little slower beat, and it ended with the ballad with Ozzy Osbourne. Now tell me what you think about that.
Okay, no disrespect to Black Sabbath fans. I respect Ozzy Osbourne, but I'm a Dio girl, so I can only take so much of Ozzy before I have to go to the Dio years. But I do respect him as one of the godfathers of heavy metal. I respect him so much for that, but I really don't like the Black Sabbath stuff with Ozzy. I'm more of a Dio girl, but this song to me is one of the times that I can get why Ozzy Osbourne is so good.
Now, I don't have a lot of experience with Ozzy. I've heard a couple of albums. I thought he was a screamer.
Yeah.
I was really impressed that there was singing. I could understand him. There was vocalization. I liked the sound of it. I was really impressed. I was really impressed with that album, and I really liked it a lot. And even Ozzy, and I don't have a lot of Ozzy experience, but I really did like that song.
Yeah, I agree. It's a beautiful ballad, but like I said, this is one of the few songs I can tolerate with Ozzy. Again, no disrespect, Ozzy, if you're listening. But again, a beautiful song, and I think it just shows that hard rock guys can do ballads and not sound wimpy.
I agree. That is true, because it's difficult when you're known for your, the beat and the screaming or the sound, and then you stop and you pull it down and you're singing with a woman, and you slow it down and you're singing something that's really, really pretty. It had really good lyrics to it. So I really like that.
Yeah.
Are you ready to move on to the next one?
All right, let's do Stiletto. We're going to start off with the first song here, Hungry. I wish we could have taped this so you all could see Chamberlain's facial expressions during Hungry, because she kept raising her eyebrows so much.
It's a really raw, sexy song, but it's full of imagery. I like that she is comfortable. She's not begging. She's not pleading. She is very confident in expressing herself and her desire. And you know what? As a woman, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
She saw somebody that she wanted, and she very graphically described what was going on with it and what she wants out of it.
I do want to touch on that because it's graphic, but it's not trashy.
No, not at all. Not at all. It is graphic in a classy way, if you will.
Yeah.
No, it is not. It is not trashy, and it's not sleazy. She is a confident, independent woman stating her wants and needs, like we should all be able to do. Okay.
Yes. All right. Dedication.
Dedication is a very another raw kind of song. I want you. I love you. This is what I want. I need you. I need your face. I need your wild eyes. I need your hands and your fingers. It's another independent, very raw, sexy song.
Yeah.
I liked that one too.
Yeah. Okay, Stiletto. This is actually one of my favorite songs on the album because I love the idea. To me, I always interpreted this song as being like a teenager in love with the bad boy, and come to find out he was just using her, and the pain she felt from this first wild, crazy love being compared to a stiletto heel, which I hear is very spiky. I wear tennis shoes. What did you think of Stiletto?
No, I agree. It took me some time. You and I had to talk about what you felt it meant, and once you told me about perhaps it was a bad boy who used somebody who wasn't aware of what the situation was. And this is her answer back to the way she was treated. I agree. It was a I liked the beat to it also, but it was a kind of sad song in all honesty when you talk about, because it talks about being cruelty and things like that.
Yeah. Lisa, the song to her mother.
This was a ballad to her mother. It had a good guitar instrumental. It's a very pretty song. It's a nice dedication to someone. It's obvious that she was very close to her mother, and she really wanted to honor her mother with this song. It was a very emotional song, and I could tell what she meant by it.
Okay, The Ripper is by far my favorite song on this album.
Good. Yeah. It has a good solo to it. It had a good beat. It's another.
Because when I first heard it, I at first thought it was about Jack the Ripper, because like a shadow in the night, and he's spreading his disease, he'll bring you to your knees. I at first thought it was about Jack the Ripper, but as you get more into the lyrics, it doesn't seem to be about Jack the Ripper.
No, I think it's just a man called the Ripper, who he'll rip at my heart, he won't let go, he wants my soul to keep. So I think it's just somebody who's passionate, let's say.
Big Gun. You could not stop smiling during this.
This was a good song. It has a really good beat. Another one with really good imagery. It was very fun and it was very sexy. It had some conversation over it, but not so much. But it's really, she really doesn't really push an envelope, but it's just a fun flirty song there that I liked. So
yeah. Okay, the Alice Cooper cover, Only Women Bleed. Okay, so we next have the Alice Cooper cover, Only Women Bleed. You and I got into a discussion about this, and I think this would be very interesting for our listeners, if anyone's listening. But we were talking about the importance of a man singing this song versus a woman singing this song. And I was wondering, what do you think?
I really don't feel, because I've heard the Alice Cooper version, this is a cover of it, done in a very similar style. I really don't feel that the message changes whether it's sung by a man or a woman. I feel it tells the story. And you brought up a show that we saw on, I believe, PBS about the temperance movement, Prohibition.
Yes.
when that was in place in the early part of the last century. And it's I feel that it talks about women bleeding in terms of what they try to do when they're in a relationship. There are references in here to he smokes and drinks and don't come home at all, and she tries to do everything to make things work. And I feel that the bleeding is very much from the soul, from the emotions, and not a specific reference. Yeah. So I like the song, but I don't listen to it. It's not an uplifting rocking song.
Yeah. Bad Boy.
Bad Boy was another sexy, flirty song that had a really good beat.
You liked the bridge part right
I liked the bridge. That was really pretty. I liked the way that ran. It had a dual. It had a background and a harmony and a melody, and it was really, really cool. I like that song. I recommend that highly. Aces and Eights was a different kind of song.
Yeah.
It has a good sound. It has a good beat, and I love her vocals in this. Her voice is absolutely delicious. But it's a little more of a kind of a story song. Yeah. It wasn't so much the other. It wasn't sexy. It wasn't flirty. It wasn't raw. It wasn't. It was a very, very different kind of song. I recommend it. Listen to it a couple of times and see what you think about it. And then Cherry Red was another flirty, sexy song with a really good beat. That I think in a lot of these where I've said that they were sexy and flirty, I'm trying to imagine her recording them, and was she serious in her dedication of doing them, or was she really having a good time and laughing? It's hard to tell. But the songs were really, really good.
Yeah. So I wanted to say one more thing. Eddie Trunk said in his book that you quoted that these albums sounded polished, yet we've used the word raw quite a few times. Do you think these albums are polished?
Well, as you said, we don't really have the other things to compare them to. I don't feel they sounded commercial. They aren't live, where you get that kind of thing. But they sounded really independent. She sounded strong and very confident. I meant raw in the emotion and in her vocals and in her playing, because she's a very, very talented player. But I'd have to hear the whole thing, and unfortunately, because of time constraints, we can only cover these two right now. But I didn't feel that. Now Eddie would know more about it at this point, because we haven't heard them all. But I'd be interested in following that up when we can do that in a future podcast and follow up.
Hopefully, yeah. Yeah, because to me, especially on Stiletto, Hungry and Dedication, those are raw emotions, and we cannot forget without a doubt what a talented player Lita is.
Oh, absolutely.
We can't downplay that. Not only is she stunningly beautiful, but we don't want to downplay the fact that she is a very talented guitar player.
No, absolutely. And what I like about her is she doesn't compromise herself, her looks, her sensuality, her sexuality, her femininity, to try to fit in. She came in, and I feel she just fit in as who she is. And like I said, I wasn't trying to be insulting earlier when I said that she fit in. She sounded like another rock band, not male, not female, not androgynous.
I agree.
Okay, well, that's our take on these two albums by Lita Ford, Lita and Stiletto. We highly recommend them, and give them a listen if you haven't heard them. And we're going to try to follow up with a couple of other women and a follow-up to some other Lita Ford.
Yeah, we are going to finish Lita Ford. We're going to be listening to Dangerous Curves, Wicked Wonderland, and Living Like a Runaway. And then we'll do that, and then we'll move on to some other women. Thank you for listening.
Okay, come back and look and see what else we've got for you. Have a very happy New Year, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Thanks. Bye.